We do have some shots of snow. We're not seeing any of these raging winter storms right now. As you can see, it's all about the flow over those nice, warm, toasty, wide open Great Lakes. Only about 3% ice covered right now. Where you're seeing some of the snow from Saginaw to Grand Rapids, it's I-69, I-94. Just watch for the reduced visibility, and at times, you know, we've got the roadway situation handled. Just give yourself plenty of extra distance. That's all sometimes you need, is that extra braking distance. That always helps. The I-90 and 80 corridor, the New York State Thruway heads up with some snow showers there. I-81 as well. Binghamton reporting some snow. Bradford, Erie, the Pennsylvania Wilds getting a nice fresh coating of white. It is enough to trigger some of these advisories. We do have the winter weather advisories posted in the light blue, and those lake effect storm warnings, including parts of the Tug Hill Plateau, where you are just adding to an impressive seasonal snow total already. We get you through the next couple of hours, and you see a lot of this beginning to dissipate by the dinner hour, so that might be good if you're heading out later to make some of those holiday gift runs. But they're lingering a little bit longer for northwestern PA and western New York State. Long enough, Julie, that we could see anywhere from 1 to 3 inches of snowfall through tonight, but maybe a little bit more, especially west.
Look here at Dallas as we get over the weekend, looking at some rain coming in today, maybe even tomorrow. But on Monday, we'll take a little bit of a break from that. A second round, though, coming in on Tuesday. Temperatures still holding in the 60s, so at least it's a warm rain, right? It's not a cold rain, at least relatively warm. Here's a look at our pattern change we're going to be dealing with here. A lot of this moisture flowing in from the Gulf of Mexico, and this is why we have now a trough here developing in the west, a ridge in the east, so basically opening the door for some of that, not only milder air, but some of that moisture to work its way into the south as well. So that's going to be pulled north over the weekend and continuing on in through the first part of the work week as well. We'll look at some rounds of scattered showers and storms coming into Texas, Louisiana, the Gulf Coast states, maybe even Atlanta, Georgia, getting some of this moisture as we get into the latter part of the weekend. So here's a look at the big picture for today. Looking at rain showers from San Antonio all the way to Brownsville up to Houston and Dallas. Then tomorrow, this all pushes off to the east. We're looking at scattered storms here in New Orleans up to Nashville. And then on Monday, really right along the I-10 corridor here, if you're traveling this area, watch out for some of those spotty scattered storms coming your way. Same goes for Tuesday as well. Texas getting hit once again with some rain. And really, Maria, I know it's not ideal timing for this rain. A lot of people busy this time of year, but it is a welcome.
It is. And I think another part of all that, it's not snow, right? So
it's not snow.
We're seeing those temperatures warm up too. And, you know, it's been a cold morning across parts of the south and the southeast, including from Atlanta, Nashville, Little Rock. All these areas got close to or below freezing this morning. But we are watching the south here for that warm up. It is a bit of a change from this time yesterday too, by the way. A few degrees colder than it was 24 hours ago, including Jacksonville. You're 8 degrees colder than you were just this time yesterday. But the trend is to go the other way. So the cold is sticking to the north. We have the dip in the west, a little bit of a surge coming across the south. And by tomorrow, you are going to notice it, not just with high temperatures, but with low temperatures. And for some of us, that not only means getting back to average, but in a lot of cases, well above average in the next couple of days. So today, 54 in Atlanta. That's just about spot on for average. We have 57 tomorrow. You see the 60s creeping back up to the north, including Jackson as well as Montgomery. Still into the 60s on Monday. Now we add Atlanta to the list of 60s. How about back to the 80s here, going retro 80s style here, Orlando. After some high temperatures just into the 60s, you swing back into the low 80s. So if you're doing the holiday trip to the theme parks with the family for next week, getting that early jump, you're good to go. You've got some warm weather for you. Atlanta, we definitely have the warm up, but as Julie was pointing out, it's coming along with days of rain, at least the chance of rain. So while we won't be basking in sunshine in mid-60s, Julie, it will be. But
awesome.
it's extra fun when there's actual snow for the snowman.
The animals love it, right?
Oh yeah, well I think the person who runs the camera puts out food, so it attracts. But it's really fun. I mean, you see deer all the time. Oh, turkeys, the wild turkeys are fun.
Around Thanksgiving?
All the time. They hang out a little bit too long. You better watch yourself. But, you know, cities like Gaylord, Michigan, you've got almost, I would think, safe to say, guaranteed white Christmas. You will have snow on the ground December 25th.
Yeah, it's looking likely for everyone in blue here. So back in the west as well, Denver, all the way down to Flagstaff. Looks like you are also in for a white Christmas. Definitely very possible.
So a couple things working in their favor. cold, persistent cold, keeping what's on the ground around.
Right.
And then some snowy scenarios.
And I believe it's an inch or so.
Yes,
that's our
criteria.
official.
That's what we use to make this graphic, just so you know. But this is the forecast, not the probability year to year. With that said, let's go ahead and look ahead. And we've got the week leading up to Christmas Eve in our sights.
All right, starting things off today, we are going to be getting a little snow finally here in the northern Rockies. Also some rain working its way into Texas and eventually into a lot of the Gulf Coast states.
All right, you've got the snow continuing across parts of the Northeast, but we're getting it.
All right, so for tomorrow, looks like our moisture in the south is going to start to move across the Gulf Coast states, even working its way into the Midwest. Maybe even the Mid-Atlantic could get a little bit, but otherwise temperatures are going to be well above average in these parts, so it won't be snow, that's for sure.
And it's going to be some days of rain. Cities like New Orleans, too. It's not just rain, but thunder.
And this is a look at Monday. More rain here across the Gulf Coast states, all the way over to Georgia. And then it looks interesting there in the east as well, Maria.
Yeah, you've got a little bit of a mix. The snow continuing from the Adirondacks, Green and White Mountains, where the cold is going to be sort of entrenched eventually. As we get from Tuesday into Wednesday, though, still mild, gray, and rainy there across the south.
Still a little snow here in Montana on Tuesday as well. And through Wednesday, our pattern that has changed is going to keep things pretty active here in the west. A trough in place, so more snow coming in. And this is welcome news for a lot of these areas that really haven't seen much this season so far.
Thinking of Salt Lake City, but also
no moisture in the forecast there in Southern California. Here's a look at the last 6 hours. Relatively quiet weather conditions. We do have a little bit of snow that's worked its way into the northern Rockies, also across the Great Lakes. The snow that was plaguing the East Coast right around rush hour yesterday is out of there, so that's some good news. Plenty of sunshine for your Saturday here in the south. High pressure there. We will see some increasing moisture, though, here across the Gulf Coast states and Texas. So look for some scattered storms today, places like Dallas and Houston. Temperatures, by the way, real quick, are going to be well above average for many of you. Nice little early Christmas gift.
Love it. No, that is no act. Tom Nizzle loves snow. So you've got the best winter weather expert in the biz right now. All right, we have a lot of snow still to go, and not adding up to a lot, but it's persistent. So we have a few more hours, and you can see on the radar where we're picking up the shades of blue in through northwestern PA, the Allegheny National Forest, north of I-80, and really along I-80 in Pennsylvania, but also in through western New York State. That darker blue, that's indicating some heavier snow showers. So watch out for those spots, because that's where we can see a little bit more of that quicker accumulation over the next couple of hours. But again, it is staying cold to the north, so where the snow is falling now, it's got that best chance to stick around. Warmer weather to the south. That's where the train track for some of these disturbances are as well, way to the north. So as long as that continues, we'll have a few shots of snow. No raging blizzards just yet in the forecast, but persistent, right? We get you through the lunch hour in through central Michigan. You see some of that beginning to dissipate by the evening time. So if you're doing that late run to the mall, that might be beneficial for road conditions. But even through the early dinner hour, northwestern PA, western New York State, that's where it hangs on a little bit longer. So you do have a few more hours, but within those few hours, you could be picking up 1 to 3 inches of snowfall in some spots, especially western New York State, south of Buffalo to the east of Erie, maybe as much as 3 to 5 additional inches of snowfall by the time we wrap up tonight. Even in through eastern Michigan, could be looking at 3 or 4 more inches of snowfall. So Cleveland, we'll call it generally cloudy, may see some passing flakes, but temps staying into the third.
Go to places like Houston and Dallas. So taking a look here at our current radar, looking at some moisture working its way now in through San Antonio, eventually coming into Houston and Dallas later on. All of this is going to continue to push east as we get through the weekend. We've got this big dip in the jet stream. This is a big pattern change, so colder air in place here in the west. And what that's doing is kind of opening the door for the mild air to come into the south here. Also, the moisture from the Gulf of Mexico, it's opening the door for that to feed in as well. So that's what we're going to be dealing with this weekend and really for the next several days here across the south. We're looking at some rounds of rain coming in. Not going to pile up to too much, but nonetheless, every little bit's going to help out a little bit. So this is a look at the weekend. We've got that upper level support as well. We'll put this in motion for you, though. Looking at the showers coming into Houston right around lunchtime, eventually into Dallas around 3 or 4 o'clock this afternoon. And it looks like we could get some pockets of heavier rain also, and eventually making its way into Shreveport in the early morning hours and then on to New Orleans tomorrow and beyond. As far as the severe weather threat, not a real high one. This is one of the ingredients we look for. It's called CAPE. Basically, how unstable is the atmosphere? At this point, it's looking relatively low. So it's not going to be as much of a severe weather threat with this, and that is the welcome news here. Also, the rain is pretty welcome. I mean, we're down here in a lot of these states, and unfortunately, as we end the year, we'd like to bring those totals up just a little bit.
That would be good. And we know we want to bring those high temperatures up a little bit.
Yeah.
So that's one of the byproducts. It's not the snow forecast this week, right? It's the rain forecast. It is being helped along by that return of warmer air. A lot of us waking up to below freezing temperatures from the southeast across the south, but the trend is to get not only closer to average, but even well above average. And we're not going to be alone. Much of the central part of the country, well into Canada, even as cool and cold as it's going to be in places like the Great Lakes, it's still going to be, relatively speaking, above average. So you can see even in next week, it's coast to coast. So in good company. By Monday, 10 to 15 degrees above the average here. You have Minneapolis, near 40, Kansas City. That means 54 degrees for you. So again, early part of the week, especially seeing that surge of warmth. And even as we get into the end of the weekend, that is the case. And you can see those temperatures into the 40s and the 50s. The trend, Oklahoma City, I feel like I've been talking about how above average it has been for you for so long. In fact, yeah, your cool down for tomorrow, 52 is still above average, and then you're right back up into the low 60s and no rainfall. In fact, some sunshine. Now, Kansas City, you do have the rain on Sunday with that dip, but still well above average here going.